That 18.65%, that is for this year, going into next year at 12.7%. So it's going to be over 31% in total for the tariff increases from Eskom. Let's get reaction then from Cosatu spokesperson joining us this morning, Sizwe Pamla. Sizwe, good to have you on eNCA. Whenever we talk about the blackouts, which is now stage 6, that's causing chaos for employment and businesses. Now we're throwing Eskom getting more money for less power. How angry are you this morning?
Well, we're very angry as workers. We're very angry. We believe this was really just a reckless decision because workers are being forced to pay for a service that they are not receiving. If you look at workers all across the sectors of the economy, they are struggling with below inflation increases. Those who are lucky enough to even get increases, many of them are dealing with wage stagnation. They've been struggling with the price of electricity even before this increase. Not only that, you can bring in the price of fuel, price of food. All of these problems have really suffocated many of these workers. The interest rates have not helped. So bringing in this increase, on top of the fact that they are actually not going to have access to energy, to electricity, they are still going to be forced to fork out of their pockets to look for alternative sources during load shedding, alternative energy sources. So this is really a slap in the face because it seems as if everyone is indifferent to their plight. People are looking around and they see nothing wrong. It's not just workers, it's actually employers who are going to look around and realize that there is actually no need to continue to keep some of the operations going. As a result, we are going to experience job losses. And then Eskom itself, long term, is going to pay a huge price for these tariff hikes because you hear more and more of its biggest customers saying that they are getting off the grid. As a result, it means that only the most vulnerable and those who cannot actually afford electricity will be left reliant on Eskom. As a result, the power utility itself is going to pay a huge price going forward.
What do you think should have been done? It's what I'm asking as our viewer question on the show this morning, Sizwe, do you think there should have been no increase, a lower increase? Because Eskom will say, and some experts will say, that Eskom does need this money to try and get the infrastructure up and running. But as I say that, also an awful amount of the tariff money we are all paying is going to paying off Eskom debts. So no tariff increase or a lower tariff increase? What do you think would have been better?
Let's go back to exactly the issue that we are raising, of the fact that this money is actually not even going to go to help with the revenue of infrastructure. It's going to go on debt service costs. We have been having discussions for the last 5 years on this question. In 2019, we submitted a proposal called the Eskom Social Compact, where we said, look, let's all come together as social partners and look at ways of halving the Eskom debt. Government in the last, I think, midterm budget policy statement did come out and say they were prepared to take 50% of the Eskom debt and put it under the national debt. That is actually should be our focus area here, is to relieve Eskom of the burden of spending a lot of this money on debt service cost, so that whatever money that is being generated can be spent on infrastructure repair. That is really the issue here. As workers, we would have actually looked at everything and said there should have been no increase, because the reality is many people cannot afford this. You have 24 million people who are on social welfare, and we are not going to adjust their social grants to keep up with inflation. And you expect these people to afford electricity. We have got poor municipalities that have been struggling to actually keep up with payments, which means we are literally going to plunge many of these people into darkness, because although we do blame some of these municipalities for mismanaging the fund, but some of them actually cannot afford to pay for electricity because they look after the most poor and vulnerable South Africans. So the whole idea of having a power utility like Eskom was that, as Cosatu, we wanted it to be used as a utility that can achieve the cross-subsidization, where the haves can subsidize the have-nots. But when you see some of these municipalities, for example, the big ones, are talking about getting off the grid, and the big customers like the mining sector and others are talking about getting off the grid, it means you are dismantling the cross-subsidization that was supposed to be in place, where the poor were not supposed to pay as much as the rich, and that those who have the means were supposed to actually pay more and to subsidize the have-nots. But what we are doing is that we are pushing these people out of the Eskom grid, and as a result, only those who are most vulnerable will be left to carry the burden going forward.
Yeah, it's going to make even more people vulnerable as well. Sizwe, you make so many good points, and I always appreciate your time. It's going to be devastating for the employment sector in our country. Cosatu spokesperson Sizwe Pamla joining us to talk about this increase that's been granted by Nersa to Eskom. For this year, it is 18.65%. For next year, it's going to be 12.7%. So once you combine those two approvals, you're looking at over 31% for electricity as an increase over the next 2 years.